Jane, talk to me. Jane, talk to me.
Please tell me he's okay.
They were not just television stars, they were the heartbeat of a culture, the soul of a sport that was never supposed to have rules, cameras, or fans in the millions. Street Outlaws took the underground and put it on prime time. And the people who made that show electric were not actors reading lines. They were real, raw, fearless. But fearless does not mean untouchable. One by one, the racing world received news it was not prepared for. Phones lit up. Timelines went silent. Communities held their breath. Some of these men died young. Some died suddenly. All of them left a hole that nothing has been able to fill. This is their story. The show that changed street racing forever.
We already beat New York, which means the 405 is going to the final.
Before we talk about the losses, you need to understand what was being lost. Street Outlaws did not arrive quietly. It did not ease its way onto your television screen with polished trailers and celebrity endorsements. It exploded. It roared onto the Discovery Channel in June of 2013 like a car launching off the line at midnight, and it never slowed down. The premise was simple on the surface. A group of street racers in Oklahoma City was competing for position on a list that determined who was the fastest in town. But what unfolded on screen was something far more complicated than a racing competition. It was a portrait of a community, a way of life, a brotherhood held together by speed, loyalty, and the kind of pride that cannot be bought or manufactured for television. What made the show different from everything else on cable at the time? It was the people, not the cars, not the races, the people. These were not polished television personalities groomed by network executives. They were mechanics, welders, fathers, and adrenaline addicts who had been racing in the dark long before any camera crew ever showed up. They had calloused hands and were real rivalries. They had histories with each other that ran deeper than any script could capture. When they argued on screen, it was real. When they celebrated, it was real. When they grieved, that was real too. And the audience felt every single bit of it. At its peak, Street Outlaws was pulling in millions of viewers per episode, making it one of the highest rated shows in Discovery Channel history. Spin-offs multiplied. Street Outlaws, Memphis. Street Outlaws, New Orleans. Street Outlaws, America's List. The franchise grew because the hunger for this world was insatiable. People were not just watching races. They were watching lives unfold in real time. But here's the question nobody wanted to ask as the ratings climbed. What happens when the people who make a show feel real actually are real? What happens when the danger is not dramatized? What happens when the phone calls are not written into a script? Street racing has always carried risk. Everyone in that world knows it. The drivers know it. The crews know it. The fans know it. You do not build a car to run 200 miles per hour and pretend that nothing could ever go wrong.
Good job, baby.
Hey, cut all that out.
The men and women of Street Outlaws understood that better than anyone. They lived in that tension every single time they staged at the line. And yet, knowing the risk is one thing. Facing its consequences is something else entirely. Because there is a version of danger that feels manageable when you are the one behind the wheel, in control, making split-second decisions at speed. And then there is the version that arrives without warning. The version that does not care about timing or fairness, or how much life a person still has left to live. Street Outlaws lost cast members in ways that broke the community open. Some died on the road, some died away from it. But every single loss carried the same unbearable weight because these were not strangers on a screen. They were people that fans had watched for years, people whose voices they recognized, people whose catchphrases they quoted, people whose rivalries they followed like chapters in a book they could not put down. When those people disappeared, the show did not just lose cast members, it lost pieces of its identity, pieces that could not be recast, rewritten, or replaced with new talent and a fresh storyline. And that is what this conversation is really about. Not just death, but the specific, irreplaceable weight of these particular deaths. The kind that makes you go back and rewatch old episodes just to hear a voice again. The kind that makes a sponsor sticker on a car feel like a memorial. The kind that ripples through an entire community of racers, fans, and crew members who are all quietly asking the same question. How do you keep going when the people who defined this thing are no longer here? We are going to answer that question together, one name at a time. But before we do, I want you to hold this thought. Every single person we are about to talk about chose this life, fully and freely. They loved it without apology. And that matters, because the way you honor someone who lived loudly is not by going quiet. It is by telling their story the way they raced. without hesitation, without holding back, at full speed. So let us get into it. Shane McCoy.
Perfect. This $1,000 will go a long way.
There are moments in a show's history that divide everything into before and after. For Street Outlaws, one of those moments came when the racing community learned that Shane McCoy was gone. Not retired, not stepping back from cameras. Gone. And the silence that followed that news was the kind that settles into a room and refuses to leave. Because Shane was not a background character. He was not someone you half remembered from a single episode. He was a presence. The kind of person whose energy you felt through the screen before he even opened his mouth. Loud in the best possible way. Passionate about racing in a way that felt almost spiritual. And when that energy disappeared, everyone who had ever watched him felt the absence immediately. So who exactly was Shane McCoy, and why did his loss hit the Street Outlaws world so hard? Shane came from the culture that Street Outlaws was built on. He was not someone who discovered street racing through a television show or a YouTube video. He grew up inside it. He understood the language of it, the unwritten rules, the hierarchy, the respect that had to be earned one race at a time. He was competitive without being reckless, and he was respected without being arrogant, which, in a world full of enormous personalities and even bigger egos, is an achievement that should not be underestimated. The people who raced alongside him did not just tolerate him, they valued him. And that distinction matters enormously when you are trying to understand what the community lost when he passed. Here is what makes this story even harder to sit with. Shane McCoy did not die in a race. He did not go out the way the outside world might have expected, behind the wheel of a car at speed chasing a number on a timing board. His death came differently. It came the way most devastating losses come, quietly, without dramatic buildup, without the kind of warning that allows people to prepare themselves emotionally. The racing community, which had watched him push limits on the strip, suddenly had to reconcile the fact that life had taken him in a moment that had nothing to do with the sport he loved. And somehow, that made it harder. Not easier, because at least if it had happened on the track, people could have found a way to frame it inside the narrative of the life he chose. Instead, they were left holding grief with no frame around it at all. And the reaction from the Street Outlaws cast said everything. These are not men who express vulnerability easily. They are built on a culture that prizes toughness, measures respect by elapsed time and reaction speed, and has little patience for public displays of emotion. But when Shane McCoy died, that wall came down. Posts went up. Tributes poured in. People who had raced against him, argued with him, competed with him for position on the list, all said the same thing in different words, that he was one of the good ones. The community was smaller without him, that his absence would be felt every single time cars lined up and the tree counted down. That is not the language of television. That is the language of genuine loss, and it is impossible to fake. But here's the question that lingers long after the tributes fade. What does it do to a show, to a cast, to a culture when death becomes part of the story? When do the people watching from home start to realize that the danger they found so thrilling on screen has a real and permanent price? Street Outlaws never set out to be a show about mortality. It set out to be a show about speed, competition, and the pursuit of being the best on any given night. But life does not stay in the lanes you assign it. And the loss of Shane McCoy was the first time many fans truly understood that the people they were watching were not protected by the fact that cameras were rolling. The risk was always real. The consequences were always real. Shane just had the terrible misfortune of being the one who made the audience finally believe it. His name does not come up in every Street Outlaws conversation. The show kept moving, as shows do, as life does. But the people who knew him have not forgotten. The people who raced with him still feel that empty space. And the fans who followed his journey carry a quiet awareness that this world they love so much comes with a cost that no trophy can offset. Shane McCoy was the first goodbye. He would not be the last. Justin Shearer, Big Chief.
I'm not really sure.
If Street Outlaws had a face, it was his. Justin Shearer, known to the entire racing world as Big Chief, was not just a cast member on Street Outlaws. He was the reason millions of people found the show in the first place. He was the anchor, the gravitational center around which everything else orbited. When the Discovery Channel needed someone to carry a show about underground street racing into living rooms across America, Big Chief was the answer. Not because he was the loudest voice in the room, though he could certainly hold his own, but because he had something that cannot be manufactured, coached, or edited into existence. He had authenticity. A rawness that came through the screen and made you feel like you were standing right there on the starting line beside him, close enough to feel the heat coming off the engine.
Before I was even 1 year old, and it said race car driver.
And then on June 27th of 2023, that voice went silent. Justin Shearer passed away at the age of 41, a man at the absolute height of his influence, his experience, and by every account, his happiness. The cause of death was reported as a heart attack, sudden and without warning, the kind that does not give a person time to say goodbye or finish the sentences they had been meaning to say for years. The shockwave that followed moved through the Street Outlaws community like nothing it had ever experienced before, because this was not a peripheral figure. This was not someone on the edges of the story. This was the story. And suddenly, the story had no narrator. Justin grew up in Oklahoma City, and from an early age, the streets were his classroom. He did not come from money, industry connections, or any of the advantages that typically smooth the path to television stardom. He came from a genuine love of cars, a relentless competitive drive, and a community of racers who recognized early that something about him was different. He built his reputation the hard way, one race at a time, earning respect in a world that does not hand it out freely. By the time Street Outlaws came calling, Big Chief was already a legend in Oklahoma City's racing underground. The show did not create him. It simply introduced him to the rest of the world, and the rest of the world fell in love with him immediately. There was a quality to the way Big Chief carried himself on camera that was almost impossible to look away from. He was confident without being arrogant, competitive without losing his sense of humor. He could stand in front of a car that had just blown an engine on the worst possible night and find a way to make you laugh and feel the heartbreak simultaneously. He had an emotional range that most trained actors spend entire careers developing, and he had it naturally and effortlessly because he was not performing. Every reaction was real. Every frustration was real. And that is what made losing him so specifically devastating. The world did not lose a television character. It lost an actual human being who happened to be extraordinary. But here's what the headlines did not fully capture when the news broke. Big Chief had been navigating significant personal changes in the years leading up to his death. His marriage to Alicia Shearer had ended publicly and painfully. He had stepped back from Street Outlaws in ways that confused and worried fans who had followed him from the beginning. In interviews during that period, Justin spoke with a reflective honesty that, in hindsight, felt like a man genuinely trying to figure out who he was outside the identity the show had built around him. He was searching, and there is something profoundly heartbreaking about knowing that the search ended before he found all the answers he sought. The tributes that followed painted a picture of a man deeply loved by everyone who knew him. Cast members spoke about him with tenderness that had nothing to do with television. Fans described feeling like they had lost a personal friend. His face appeared on car windows and handwritten signs at racetracks from Oklahoma to California. Justin Shearer left behind 2 sons and a legacy that will take decades to fully appreciate. Some people are simply irreplaceable. Big Chief was one of them. Lizzy Musi.
Down, I'm gonna push. I've been doing the treatments. I'm on my 6th treatment, and I'm feeling.
Lizzy Musi, the exceptionally talented and fiercely competitive star of the Discovery Channel television franchise Street Outlaws. No Prep Kings, passed away on June 27, 2024, at the age of 33. Her untimely death followed a highly public, incredibly courageous 14-month battle with stage 4 triple-negative breast cancer. Her father, the legendary racing engine builder Pat Musi, broke the heartbreaking news to the motorsports community. He stated that she passed away peacefully at 11:25 in the evening at her home in North Carolina, surrounded entirely by her loving family. Lizzy first shook the drag racing world off the track in April 2023. She posted an emotional, candid video on her official YouTube channel alongside her then fiancé, fellow driver Kai Kelly. The video, titled "I Have Stage 4 Breast Cancer, My Toughest Race," yet revealed the gravity of her health crisis. In the footage, she bravely detailed how she had initially discovered a marble-sized lump in her breast roughly 6 months prior. Despite early dismissals from her initial medical checkups, her persistence led to a devastating biopsy result. Doctors diagnosed her with an aggressive grade 3 triple-negative cancer that had already metastasized to her lymph nodes and her liver. Determined to beat the staggering odds, Lizzy sought specialized treatment at the renowned MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, Texas. She chose to document her medical journey openly to raise awareness and help other young women. She shared video diaries like "We Got In," cancer diagnosis, and treatment updates, which gave fans an intimate look at her clinical trials and exhausting chemotherapy regimens. Born into a racing dynasty, Lizzy was never merely a reality television personality. She was a trailblazing athlete who earned respect through raw skill and extreme speed. She grew up working alongside her father at Pat Musi Racing Engines, learning the mechanics of high horsepower cars from an early age. Long before her television fame, she broke massive barriers in the Professional Drag Racers Association. She made history by becoming the first female driver to win a pro nitrous race. She later cemented her international legacy on No Prep Kings, driving her famous nitrous breathing machines, including her iconic cars named Aftershock and Bonnie. On the show, she smashed records by becoming the very first female driver to win an entire No Prep Kings event. She doubled down on that accomplishment by becoming the first person in the history of the franchise to win 3 consecutive main events in a row.
People say, oh no, she don't have cancer. How's she doing all this stuff? People don't think that I'm just gonna show you guys.
What amazed fans worldwide was her unyielding determination to keep racing through the intense exhaustion of cancer treatments. She explicitly stated in a media appearance archived on The Wes Buck Show that the distraction, noise, and pure adrenaline of drag racing served as her ultimate motivation to stay positive and fight the disease. Lizzy competed at the highest level well into her illness, giving fans one last unforgettable memory on the track. In May 2024, she traveled to New York to compete in the Season 7 opener. Lizzy Musi and her finals run at Empire Dragway versus Justin Swanstrom showcase her final appearance on a racetrack. Despite suffering engine issues right before her round against Paige Coughlin, incredible sportsmanship from her opponents allowed her team time to fix the car. Lizzy won that round and fought her way all the way to the final round, finishing as the event runner-up.
Stage 4 breast cancer that has moved now to the other part.
The announcement of her passing triggered an immediate wave of grief across the motorsports industry. Major news outlets and sports platforms published tribute videos, such as the widely viewed report, Street Outlaws star Lizzy Musi dies at 33 after stage 4 cancer battle, highlighting her impact as an inspiration to young female drivers globally. At her memorial services, crew members and family paid tribute in the loudest way possible, as seen in the video. They fired up Lizzy Musi's car at her funeral, letting her engine roar one last time. Lizzy Musi's memory continues to be honored at drag strips across America, where her courage, loud engines, and vibrant smile left a hole that can never be filled. The ones the cameras almost missed. Not every loss makes the front page. Not every name trends on social media when the news breaks. Not every passing gets a dedicated tribute episode or a flood of mainstream media coverage. But that does not make those losses any smaller. It does not make the empty chairs any less empty or the silence any less loud for the people who filled their lives with these individuals. Some of the most devastating losses in the Street Outlaws world have been suffered by people who never had Big Chief's platform or Shane McCoy's visibility. People who worked in the margins of the show, who contributed to its texture and authenticity in ways that never fully translated into screen time, but whose absence left marks just as deep and just as permanent as any headliner. This section is for them. And they deserve every single word of it. The first name that cannot be left out of this conversation is Precious Cooper. Now, Precious was not a traditional Street Outlaws cast member in the way most fans would define the term, but her connection to the world of the show and to the culture it represented was deep, real, and undeniable. Known widely as the Queen of the Streets, Precious built a reputation in the racing world that was nothing short of extraordinary. She was one of the most recognized female racers in the underground street racing community, a world that has never made it particularly easy for women to claim space, let alone dominate it. And dominate it she did. With a presence behind the wheel that commanded respect and a personality off it that commanded rooms, Precious Cooper was the kind of figure who made the culture better simply by being part of it. Her connection to Street Outlaws and its extended community meant that when her health declined, the racing world paid attention. And when she passed, it grieved loudly and without apology, because she had earned every bit of that grief. But here's what her story forces us to ask. How many people like Precious exist in the orbit of a show like Street Outlaws? How many contributors? How many personalities? how many essential threads in the fabric of that world never quite made it onto the official cast list, but were woven into the culture so deeply that their absence fundamentally changed the shape of it? The answer is more than most casual viewers ever realized. Street Outlaws was never just the people in the opening credits, it was an entire ecosystem. And that ecosystem lost members that the cameras never fully captured, but the community never forgot. The second name on this list carries a different kind of weight entirely. Jeff Lutz was a figure in the Street Outlaws world whose reputation among serious racing enthusiasts was enormous, even when casual fans might not have immediately placed the name. Known for his iconic 1957 Chevy and a driving style that blended precision with aggression in a way that very few racers could replicate, Jeff was a fan favorite who earned his status the only way the street racing world accepts, by being undeniably, consistently, breathtakingly fast. His appearances on Street Outlaws, America's List, brought a level of competitive intensity that elevated every episode he appeared in. He was the kind of competitor who made the people racing against him better, simply because they had no choice but to rise to the occasion or get left behind on the track. His passing sent a specific kind of shock through the community, because Jeff Lutz represented something that the Street Outlaws audience had come to rely on. He was consistent. He was excellent over the years, not just a single spectacular moment that faded. He showed up, he performed, he competed, and he did it with a seriousness about the craft that the most dedicated fans deeply respected. Losing that kind of presence does not just remove a personality from the screen, it removes a standard, a benchmark, a point of reference against which the entire competitive field had been measuring itself. And that kind of loss reshapes a community in ways that take years to fully understand. Here is the thread that connects every single name in this section. These were people who understood exactly what they had chosen. They were not naive about the world they operated in. They were not under any illusions about the stakes. They had simply decided, each one of them, that the life they were living was worth the risk it carried. That the speed and the competition and the brotherhood and the culture were worth every sleepless night in the garage, every dollar spent chasing a faster elapsed time, every moment of vulnerability that came with putting yourself on the line in front of an audience that was always watching and always judging. They chose this life with open eyes and full hearts, and that choice deserves to be honored, not with silence, not with the kind of careful, sanitized tribute that reduces a complicated human being to a highlight reel and a rest in peace caption, but with the full weight of acknowledgement that these people mattered, that their contributions shaped something real, that the Street Outlaws world is measurably, permanently smaller without them in it. The cameras almost missed them. History should not. The legacy they left in the dust. Legacy is a word that gets used too easily. People attach it to careers, championships, and social media followings, as if numbers alone can measure what a human life means to the world around it. But the real legacy is quieter than that. It lives in the people who were changed by knowing someone. It lives in the conversations that still happen years after a person is gone. It lives in the young racer who pulls up to a starting line for the first time and feels the weight of every name that raced before him, whether he knows those names or not. That is the kind of legacy the Street Outlaws family left behind. Not a trophy on a shelf, a fire that kept burning long after the hands that lit it were gone. What these stars meant cannot be measured in episode counts or viewer ratings. They meant belonging to an entire community of people who had never seen themselves on television before. They meant dignity for a culture that the mainstream world had spent decades dismissing as reckless and irrelevant. They meant proof that passion, when it is genuine, relentless, and completely unapologetic, has the power to move millions of people who live nothing like you, have never been to Oklahoma City, and would not know a reaction time from an elapsed time if their lives depended on it. That is not a small thing. That is the rarest kind of cultural contribution there is. What survives them is more than footage and highlight reels. What survives them is the standard they set, the bar they raised simply by showing up authentically and refusing to be anything other than exactly who they were. Every racer who comes after them, every new face that steps in front of a Street Outlaws camera, every young kid watching from a garage in a town nobody has ever heard of, carries something forward from these men and women without even realizing it. The culture they built is the foundation for everything else that stands now. And foundations do not disappear when the people who poured them are gone. They hold, they endure, they silently and permanently support everything built on top of them. Street Outlaws will keep racing, new names will emerge, New rivalries will capture new audiences, but the ones we lost will never truly leave that starting line. Their voices are in the engine noise. Their spirits are in every clean launch and every heartbreaking breakdown. Their names belong to this sport permanently and without condition because they gave everything they had to something they loved. And that kind of devotion does not expire. The flag drops, the cars launch, and somewhere in the roar of it all, they are still right there, flat out, fearless, forever. Street Outlaws was never just a show. It was a testament to what happens when real people chase something they love without apology, without hesitation, and without looking back. The stars we lost understood that better than anyone. They lived it completely. And though they are gone, the culture they built, the races they ran, and the lives they touched continue moving forward at full speed. If this story moved you, drop their names in the comments below. Let the world know you remember them. Like this video. Share it with someone who loves this show. And subscribe because we are just getting started. The greatest tribute you can pay a legend is to make sure nobody forgets their name.